Chapter 5, Probability, What are the Chances? In Section 1 of Chapter 5, we're going to look at randomness, probability, and something called simulations. After this section, you should be able to describe the idea of probability and talk about some of the myths about randomness. The idea of probability has to do with chance behavior. Whether it being playing cards, rolling dice, or flipping a coin, there are probabilities involved. Chance behavior is unpredictable in the short run, but has a regular and predictable pattern in the long run. The law of large numbers says that if we observe more and more repetition of any chance process, the proportion of times that a specific outcome occurs approaches a specific single value. For example, flipping a coin. When we flip a quarter, let's say, we would expect over the long run about 50% of the time the coin would come up heads. Definition of probability. The probability of an outcome of chance process is a number between 0, which means it would never occur, and 1, which would mean it always occurs. That describes the proportion of times the outcome would occur in a very long series of repetition. Again, taking a look at the flipping of a quarter example, over the short run I might have a long run of flipping a tail before I get my first head, or vice versa. But in the long run, as I flip it more and more times, I would expect the proportion of times that the head would come up to be 0.5. This cartoon gives an excellent example of some of the myths about probability and randomness. The idea of probability seems straightforward. However, there are several myths of chance behavior we must address. First is the myth of short-run regularity. The idea of probability is that randomness is predictable in the long run. Our intuition tries to tell us random phenomena should also be predictable in the short run. However, probability does not allow us to make short-run predictions. So if I was having children and I had 3 boys in a row, you might think that in the short run I should expect a girl on the next try. But that's not the case. I still have a 50-50 chance of having a boy or a girl. The myth of the law of averages. Probability tells us random behavior evens out in the long run. Future outcomes are not affected by past behaviors. That is, past outcomes do not influence the likelihood of individual outcomes occurring in the future. In Day 2 of Section 5.1, we will take a look at designing and performing simulations to simulate chance behaviors.